In my restless dreams, I see that town.
I'm sure that you've heard that sentence before. It sends goosebumps down my spine. There's something about horror games that hits differently from every other genre. Your palms become sweaty as you grip your controller. Your heart starts to race as you're low on ammo. The existential dread you feel as you walk down that void of a hallway. Horror is more than just scares. It's thought-provoking, uneasing, retching, disturbing. Horror is not just amazing. It is the best genre in all of gaming. The first game considered horror was born on the Atari 2600 in 1981, titled Haunted House. Seems extremely scary, I know, almost as scary as walking into your basement and hearing the HVAC kick on. Games that made you feel scared weren't that great at the time. But lo and behold, 10 years and a couple of game consoles later, the horror genre was booming. Clock Tower, Alone in the Dark, Doom. Wait a minute, Doom? Doom was originally positioned by John Romero and John Carmack as a horror game. Yes, an action game, but it's a dark horror. Dark corridors with flickering lights, claustrophobia, and loneliness. These two DOS games and Super Famicom title led to the boom of this genre, and not too many years later we would be introduced to a subgenre.
What are you buying?
This is my favorite version of horror. Resident Evil 4 is, and rightfully so, my favorite video game of all time. Released in 2005, RE4 was groundbreaking, not just graphically, but mechanically as well. This game created something so iconic that all of you gamers see every day in modern titles, if you're not playing an FPS. Do you have anything in mind of what it could be? How about third person over the shoulder, baby? This game from 20 years ago created something that will be used in video games till the end of time. This innovation has changed gaming forever. There are some other things in horror games that have become so infamous because of their experimentation and limitations. Take Silent Hill for example. The fog in the game isn't really fog. It actually was a limitation, because the render distance on the PlayStation wasn't so great. It had everyone believe that it was fog, but you really couldn't just see that far. It had everyone so fooled that it became monumental to the story of Silent Hill. I believe that the fog in Silent Hill is one of the most recognizable pieces of horror media today, or ever. Even if it's an extremely foggy day, my own mother will look over to me and say, "It looks like Silent Hill out here." Eternal Darkness has an insanity meter built into the game. If you're sane, you're going to be okay, but if your insanity meter is filled up, the game is going to mess with you. You will be walking along and your knife will swing or your gun will fire without you even pressing a button. You could be reloading and your character would shoot themselves in the stomach. Your limbs could just explode, but most of these would just be fake deaths and they would just mess with your mind. This game will actually make you feel like something is wrong with your console. Horror games do not follow the rules, they break them. Their innovation and experimentation push the medium forward. Some would tell you that watching movies is a great way to experience horror. And I will not lie to you, I have seen a couple of scary flicks in my time that are absolutely horrifying. But there is nothing more scarier than being able to control the protagonist, and if you mess up, you will ultimately send them to their demise. A great way to experience a horror game to feeling as if you're actually inside the horrific world is if the game is in first person. Take Resident Evil 7 for example. You're a weak, scrawny, puny little guy named Ethan Winters. You travel all of the way to Louisiana to try and find your kidnapped girlfriend named Mia. You enter the house of this disgusting, dirty redneck family called the Bakers. You traverse through their home going through tight spaces, dirty damp basements, and swampy environments. You find all of these gross, moldy monsters, and they're terrifying the first time that you see them. You're chased around the Baker house by the father, Jack Baker, and if he gets hold of you, you're more than likely dead. On top of all the eerie things that you can get up to in this game, how about if you wanted to experience it in VR? Now, I'm actually too big of a pussy to actually play this game in virtual reality, so if you want to see someone else do it, you're going to have to find that somewhere else on YouTube. Or you can look up clips of the game Fear. This bullet time FPS horror game was huge at the time of release. I'm not too versed in knowledge with this game, but I will someday get around to playing it. The Outlast series will have you on the edge of your seat, no matter what predicament you're in. I remember whenever this game came out, I wanted to play it so bad. But I knew that I would be too big of a wuss to actually pick up the controller whenever I got the game. Outlast will truly trigger your flight or fight response. Insanely dark corridors, low battery on your camera, being chased around by Chris Walker. You should go watch PewDiePie play this game if you really want to have a good laugh. Speaking of good laughs, have you ever seen Konami destroy their reputation with one of the best video game designers of all time? Of course I'm talking about Hideo Kojima, and I'm sure that name needs no introduction whatsoever. Kojima has made one of the best horror game experiences of all time, but in order to play it, you need to buy a PS4 that still has the game downloaded, and those go for a pretty high price, I'm not gonna lie to you. Of course I am talking about the game PT. This game released in 2014 on the PlayStation 4 for free, which I am very sad that I never got it. I'd really love to play this game someday, so if anyone has a PS4 just lying around, please message me. In this game, you walk down an endless corridor, trying to solve puzzles, and also trying not to piss your pants as Lisa trails behind you the entire game. This shit gave me nightmares whenever it came out. I know that I will probably never be able to play this game, but it's actually kinda just because I'm a big baby. Not all horror games just have to make you feel fear, they can also make you feel a bunch of other emotions. Silent Hill 2 is a psychological horror game where you're faced with some pretty serious topics. We're talking domestic violence, sexual assault, mental illness, the list could go on and on. Angela is one of the most saddest and tragic characters in all of gaming if you ask me. Spoilers ahead, obviously, if you have not played Silent Hill 2 or its remake. Angela is a young woman who comes to Silent Hill in search of her mother. As the game progresses, it is revealed that she has suffered years of physical and sexual abuse by the hands of her father and possibly her brother as well. Her mother, rather than protecting her, was emotionally distant and kind of blamed Angela for the abuse. Now, on to James. He comes to Silent Hill after receiving a letter from his late wife Mary, who had died 3 years ago. As you push through the game, you're met with a bunch of weird monsters, and they have a bunch of odd designs, but they all start to make sense regarding to James's issues. The nurses represent his anxiety around his wife's hospitalization for her terminal illness and the sexual deprivation that came with it. Pyramid Head is there to remind James of Mary's death, and it causes him a bunch of guilt and suffering. He's often referred to as the executioner, being the one to judge Sunderland for his crimes. One of which is killing Mary to relieve himself of the suffering he feels as he watches his wife's life dwindle away, feeling as if her illness is a burden. Another burden can be the questioning of one's own existence. In Soma, you play as Simon Jarrett, a simple man who goes into the hospital after suffering a severe brain injury. Then suddenly Simon wakes up in an underground research facility at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Humanity had gone extinct after being crushed under a comet. Pathos 2 is the research facility that Simon wakes up in, and it is overrun by malfunctioning machines, robots, and rogue AI. Many of these machines believe that they are human, some beg for their lives or even deny that they are machines. Simon learns that his consciousness was scanned and uploaded inside of a robot body, meaning that his original body is long gone. And that digs down to a really deeper level. Is Simon technically even Simon anymore? Even after transferring your consciousness into multiple new bodies, essentially copying yourself and leaving the previous version to die? Does that really still make you human? One human who is tasked to land on a mining facility in space is Isaac Clarke, a fairly recognizable character from a very successful horror franchise. Dead Space has an amazing atmosphere. I really love the gothic industrial look, whether it be in the original or the remake. There will always be a bone-chilling feeling whenever this game is in front of me. Blood splatters on the wall, mechanical whirring of machines, the gurgling screams of the necromorphs. This game really makes you feel like a maintenance engineer trapped inside a foreboding colony deep in the dark void, which is space. Atmosphere can really add on to how great a game is perceived. Unlike action or FPS games, horror thrives off of anticipation. Give Amnesia for an example. You play as Daniel, a guy who got dropped off in a castle and he has no idea how he got there. All that he knows is that he's looking for a man named Alexander who he must kill. You travel along through these dark concrete corridors, never knowing if a gatherer is standing right behind you or is getting ready to start chasing you, choosing if you should run away or hide like a coward. If the atmosphere is just right, it will stick with you even after the credits roll. The best horror game you'll ever play has probably been released on the PS2, so take that, Microsoft. At its core, horror is about confronting the unknown. And what's more human than that? Whether we're facing monsters, ghosts, or our own inner demons, horror will put us to the test. They ask, what are you afraid of? And better yet, can you survive it? That's why horror isn't just a genre. It's an experience that you need in your life. If you really enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and press the bell notification. That way you get notified whenever I go live. I'm about to start live streaming all of the Resident Evil games in chronological order. This is for preparation of Resident Evil 9. and also because I haven't finished a couple of the games that I would like to get through. So make sure to tune in, and until next time, I'll see you later. Ciao!